Hi there, my friends call me Jules, and I want to thank you so much for joining me on the Jules for Jesus podcast, where we do real life Christianity. Do you feel unworthy and flawed, like you're not good enough? Do you doubt whether you're good enough because you just don't fit the mold of what you think a strong woman, or a good mother, or a good Christian should be like? Especially now with social media, we find ourselves constantly surrounded by perfection, and we simply cannot reach that standard, or at least I am not able to. Maybe it's the pressure to look a certain way, to have the perfect family, or to succeed at work while still holding everything together at home. Or maybe people have said bad things about you, or spread lies, or gossiped about you in your community. And this has become a breeding place for your insecurities and feeling of unworthiness. And because I want to stay real with you, know that this is part of my story. So if you can resonate with any of these examples, or if you just feel insecure or unworthy because of what life has thrown your way, you will agree with me that it's easy to believe that we cannot come to Jesus, that we have to be flawless before we can come to Jesus, and for Jesus to love us. But let me tell you straight up, this is a lie. And in this episode, we're going to demolish this lie, and we're going to seek the truth, namely that Jesus loves you, flaws and all. So if today I am meeting you at a place or time in your life where you feel unworthy, this episode is for you. You're listening to the Jules for Jesus podcast. I'm Jules, and this space is all about bringing faith into the challenges and beauty of real life. Whether you're walking through heartbreak, financial stress, rejection, or just feeling a little lost, I want you to know that you're not alone. I've been there too. This podcast is about honest conversations, real encouragement, and creating a community that seeks God together. My hope is that through my story, Jesus touches yours. So let's pause. Let's invite Him into this moment, and let's take the next step forward together. This is Jules. Welcome to a safe space where you can come as you are, where you will not be judged, and where you and I can breathe, believe, and walk with Jesus. Today we're going to dive into a book of the Bible which is more often than not being misunderstood or even skipped altogether. Many of us literally find ourselves reading around this book. It's a book in the Bible that gets a lot of side glances and raised eyebrows. And while you are guessing what this book may be, let me tell you a personal story to give you a hint. I remember when I was younger, my grandmother actually made a point of warning me not to read it. She said, "That book is only for when you get married. You don't need to be reading that." At the time, I didn't really understand why she was so adamant about it. But looking back, I realized that she was probably concerned about its intimate tone. It's a love poem after all, and it's not your typical go-to Sunday school reading. And now I'm sure that you are able to guess what book we're going to discuss today. Or if you're still wondering, hopefully you are now so curious that you are hooked to keep on listening. Yes, it's Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon in some translations of the Bible. Song of Songs is, however, much more than just a romantic love story. It has so much to teach us about Jesus' love for us and how we can respond and should in fact respond to it. So today we're going to take a fresh look at only a bite-sized portion of the wisdom from this book as an introduction, because there are actually so many parts of it that we can talk about. And I definitely want us to dive deeper into this book at a later stage. But for this episode, I think you're going to find that it's not just about what meets the eye. Song of Songs is often seen as a love poem between a bride and a groom. But it's not just any love story. It's a picture of Jesus' passionate, all in love for us. The bridegroom is Jesus personified. And do you know where we fit in? Yes, we're actually also part of the story. We are the bride in the story. And do you know what I found? The bride in the story is kind of like us. And she sees herself as many of us see ourselves. The bride isn't perfect. She's flawed. She feels unworthy at times. She's hesitant at times. But even with all of her doubts and insecurities, you'll see that the bridegroom, Jesus, loves her completely. This actually makes me so excited. And in the first chapter, the bride says, I am dark yet lovely. And she explains that she's been working hard under the sun. She says her brothers have been making her work hard under the sun. She has not been taking good care of herself. So the bride is probably feeling depleted by life's demands and maybe even a little self-conscious about how she looks. Can you relate to that? I certainly do. There are so many demands on us nowadays, and we live in a very competitive world where there's so much expected of us. And while doing that, it's expected that we look good. Be the perfect mother, be the perfect wife, be the perfect employee, chef, etc. Most of us simply do not have time to take care of our own needs, let alone our spiritual needs, as life demands so much of us. And then, when we at last collapse on our beds at night, a lot of us scroll mindlessly through social media trying to wind down, faced with photos of beautiful models or friends on overseas trips, and we end up feeling even more flawed and unworthy, let alone worthy enough to come before God. We are very critical of ourselves, and many of us don't like ourselves that much, let alone love ourselves. And we cannot even fathom that God may love us in this state. You know that I've actually only recently, when attending victory training at our church, came to the true realization that Jesus loves me. And I now make a daily effort to remind myself of this and to make this my own. Because this is the truth. Jesus loves us. Song of Songs reinforces this truth and shows us that Jesus isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for us to come as we are, flaws and all, like the bride. As I said, however, this is still a new idea for me, and I will share with you later on in this episode how I deal with this and what helps me to live this truth. And perhaps it can also work for you if you struggle with this. But let's move on. In the following chapter, the groom, Jesus, invites the bride, who is us, to come away with him. And there's this passage where the groom says, "Arise, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me." Don't you just love this line? It's this sweet, tender call for closeness. And that's what Jesus does for us every day. He's calling us to draw closer, to come away with him, to follow him. And by the way, again, did you hear Jesus calling the bride beautiful? So what is clear is that the groom sees beauty in the bride even when she can't see it in herself. And isn't that the way that Jesus works? He sees something beautiful in all of us. And it's not just about how we look on the outside. In the book, the bridegroom says to the bride, "How delightful is your love, my sister, my spouse. How much more pleasing is your love than wine." He is saying that her love, her heart, is more precious than anything. Jesus doesn't want us to come to him with our to-do lists, and our accomplishments. He looks at our hearts and He delights in us. In fact, by not only calling us His spouse but also His sister, He's telling us that we are His family. We are part of His DNA. And if we accept His invitation to arise and come with Him, the more time we will spend with Him, the better we will get to know Him, the more we will start reflecting His character. And this can clearly be seen if we carry on to read, where the outward appearance of the bride now starts to reflect the outward appearance of the groom. So the more time we spend with Jesus, the more we will adopt His character, the more beautiful we will get on the inside, and this is sure to shine outward. And that's a real invitation of the Song of Songs. It's not about striving or being perfect. It's about responding to Jesus' love with a willing heart. If we look at the invitation, do you agree with me that the bridegroom speaks with patience and tenderness, gently calling the bride, wanting to see her face and hear her voice? He doesn't force her, He lures her. And this is reminiscent of how Jesus calls us. He doesn't drag us into His presence. He invites us gently, like a fly fisherman. Jesus is inviting you today, just like He invites the bride to come closer. He's not looking for the best version of you. He is looking for you exactly as you are. Isn't this such a relief to hear? That you can actually stop being insecure and feeling unworthy? Rather that you're good enough for Jesus just as you are? I encourage you to take a moment today to pause, to listen and to hear that invitation. The bridegroom Jesus is knocking on your door. Jesus is calling you and He delights in you. He finds you beautiful just as you are. And if you're still not convinced that you're good enough to take that call, here is what you can try to live this truth. Take a moment in your busy day and go outside and simply look at creation, experience creation. This helps me when I think that I'm not worthy to take that call or to be in the presence of God. And it reminds me that Jesus loves me. I look at the birds, the trees, the plants, all created with different colors and for a different purpose. Some trees are for nesting, others for shade, some for medicine, and others simply for beauty to glorify God. And the same goes for birds. Each is unique, with different songs, colors, and abilities. In Genesis it says that when God created the animals, the plants, the birds, the fish in the sea, and everything else but man, He said, it was good. But go and have a look. God says that when He created man, He said, it was very good. This reminds me that I'm very good in God's eyes, that I'm beautiful in God's eyes. And remember that in Genesis, God says that He made us in His image. I was, like all of you, made in God's image. God's image is radiant. It's more beautiful than we can ever imagine. Can you pause for a moment and just think about that and try to see yourself through God's eyes? Then you need to go and actively replace lies with truth. I'm talking about these lies that you tell yourself about not being good enough, not being worthy. The lies that may have been told about you, making you feel unworthy, or just that, lies. Go and replace them with the truth. So when a negative thought creeps into your head or a lie that you're not good enough, make a conscious decision to stop that voice immediately and rather remind yourself that Jesus loves you. That's bound to give you immediate comfort, and you'll find that this gives you the strength to step out into the world and to live your truth. What is this truth? The truth that Jesus loves you and that you are good enough for Jesus. Then, thirdly and finally, let go of perfection. Do you know and do you believe that we are actually a work in progress? Even Paul, one of the greatest apostles in the Bible, described himself in this way: a work in progress, working towards. Or did you perhaps think that Paul was perfect? No, go and have a look at Romans 7, where he says, "O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death?" This phrase captures the apostle's deep sense of internal conflict and personal struggle in the tension that he had between the desire to do good on the one hand and the reality of sin on the other hand. Did Jesus love Paul? Oh yes, no doubt about it. And just as Paul, Jesus already loves you as you are, even though, like Paul, you may think of yourself as being this wretched soul, not being able to get things right. So here's what I want to say. Just like the bride in the Song of Songs, Jesus has already chosen you. He finds you beautiful. He finds you worthy. He's luring you out of the darkness and into His tenderness. He doesn't force us to come with Him. He gives us a choice. He wants us to choose Him voluntarily. Jesus is calling us. I'm definitely taking that call. Will you? As we wrap up, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me on Jules for Jesus. I hope you're encouraged, knowing that I'm just like you, navigating life's struggles with God's guidance. And perhaps, if like me, you forgot, I want to tell you that Jesus loves you so much. And remember, even when life feels messy or uncertain, God is always at work, shaping something meaningful and good out of every moment. And hey, if something in today's episode spoke to you, if it reminded you of someone you love or care about, please share this episode with them. Let's not leave anyone behind. Let's not keep the good news to ourselves. Let's keep inviting others in so no one walks alone, and so our love for Jesus becomes something others can catch too. Let His light spread one heart at a time. So until next time, take care of yourself. Keep seeking Him in the little things and trust that He's got a purpose for your journey. This is Jules, and I'll be waiting right here for you when you click on the next episode